They put me next to the kitchen door, not near it, next to it, so close I could feel the heat every time someone pushed through with a tray. And then, 20 minutes into the reception, my cousin stood up and said something. That made my mother start crying. That's when I knew this wedding was about to fall apart. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up. Because the way this all unfolded, you need to understand how we got here. How a family can smile for photos and fall apart before dessert. How you can be related to people by blood and still be treated like you don't exist. My name is Rachel, and this is about my sister Emma's wedding. The wedding I helped pay for. The wedding where I was seated at table 12. The overflow table near the service entrance. With people I'd never met. Distant cousins of the groom, a work colleague who came alone. The table they put you at when they have to invite you, but don't actually want you there. I should mention that Emma and I used to be close, really close. Growing up, we shared everything, clothes, secrets, dreams about our future weddings. We planned them together, lying on her bedroom floor with bridal magazines spread around us. She'd be spring, I'd be fall. She wanted lilac, I wanted dahlias. We promised we'd be each other's maid of honor. That promise lasted until she got engaged. The engagement happened fast. She'd been dating Marcus for 8 months when he proposed. Beautiful ring, romantic story, everything you'd want. I was happy for her, genuinely happy. I took her dress shopping, helped her pick the venue. Spent hours on Pinterest creating boards for centerpieces she'd never use. I thought we were doing this together. The first sign something was wrong came for months before the wedding. We were having coffee, just the two of us. And she was scrolling through her phone, showing me bridesmaid dress options. Navy blue, floor length, classic. I was nodding along, making suggestions when she said it. So Brittany's going to be my maid of honor. Brittany, her friend from college. Someone she'd known for 6 years, compared to my 28 years of being her sister. I must have looked surprised because she immediately got defensive. Don't make that face, Rachel. Brittany and I have stayed really close, and she's just so organized. You know how you get overwhelmed with planning things. I didn't get overwhelmed. I'd planned her engagement party down to the napkin rings, but I just smiled and said it was her choice. Her day, because that's what you do. Right. You support your sister, even when it feels like a knife between your ribs. What I didn't know then was that this was just the beginning. That the maid of honor situation was the smallest betrayal in a series of decisions. That would eventually put me at table 12, listening to kitchen staff argue about whether they've made enough salmon. The bridal party was announced a week later on social media. I found out I was a bridesmaid the same way everyone else did through an Instagram post. 6 girls in matching robes, champagne glasses raised, big smiles, me on the end. The caption didn't mention me by name, just my beautiful bridesmaids. The comments section was full of heart emojis and congratulations. And I sat there on my couch, staring at my phone, wondering when exactly I'd become optional. I tried to brush it off, tried to be the bigger person, but then came the dress debacle. Emma chose dresses that cost $450 each. Navy blue, as planned, but from a designer boutique that didn't do sales or alterations. When I quietly mentioned that it was a lot, she sighed like I was being difficult. Everyone else can afford it. Rachel, I don't want to choose cheaper dresses just because you're having money issues. I wasn't having money issues. I was being practical. But more than that, I was hurt. Because Emma knew, she absolutely knew, that I'd been saving for a down payment on a house. She knew I'd been careful with money for 2 years, skipping vacations and eating lunch from home. And she'd chosen the most expensive option anyway. I bought the dress. Of course I bought it. Because you don't skip your sister's wedding over money. But something shifted in me that day. Some small understanding that maybe I loved her more than she loved me. The wedding planning continued through spring and into summer. Bridal showers, bachelorette party, dress fittings. I showed up to everything. I smiled in every photo. I played my role perfectly. And with each event, I felt myself fading a little more, becoming background. Becoming someone they had to include, but didn't particularly want. The bachelorette party was in Nashville, 3 days, 4 nights. Expensive. Brittany planned the whole thing without asking for input. And when I suggested a few activities, she smiled that tight smile people use when they're being polite and said she'd keep it in mind. None of my suggestions made it into the itinerary. During that trip, something happened that I didn't understand at the time. We were at a rooftop bar, all 7 of us, drinking overpriced cocktails and taking photos for Instagram. Emma was tipsy, laughing at something Brittany said. When she suddenly got quiet, her face changed. She looked at me, and for just a second, I saw something that looked almost like guilt. "I need to talk to you," she said, pulling me away from the group. We went to a quieter corner of the rooftop. The music was still loud, but at least we could hear each other. She looked nervous, twisting her engagement ring around her finger. "Rachel, I need you to understand something about the wedding." My stomach dropped. I don't know why, some instinct that tells you bad news is coming before the words arrive. Mom and Marcus's mom have been planning the seating chart. And there's been some complications with numbers and family dynamics and where am I sitting, Emma? She couldn't look at me. You're at a table with some of Marcus's extended family. Nice people, you'll like them. Which table? Does it matter? Which table, Emma? 12. Table 12. At a wedding with 20 tables. A wedding I contributed $1,000 toward. When Emma and Marcus said they were short on the venue deposit, money I'd given without hesitation because she was my sister and you help family, I didn't cry. Not there, not with her looking at me like I was being unreasonable. I just nodded and said okay, and we went back to the group. But that moment, that rooftop conversation in Nashville, that's when I realized something was very wrong with my family. Something that went deeper than seating charts. I should have asked more questions. Should have pushed harder for answers. But I was afraid of what I'd find, so I just let it go. Let it sit in my chest like a stone, getting heavier every day. The wedding was August 15th. Summer ceremony in a garden venue, reception in a restored barn. Objectively beautiful. Emma looked stunning. Marcus looked happy. The ceremony went perfectly. I stood up front with the other bridesmaids, holding my bouquet, smiling when I was supposed to smile. No one watching would have known that my heart was breaking in slow motion. The reception started at 6. Cocktail hour first, then the grand entrance, then dinner. I found table 12 easily enough. It was near the back, partially hidden by a decorative screen, right next to the door the catering staff used. Every time it swung open, you got a blast of heat and the sound of pans clanging. The people at my table were nice enough. Marcus's aunt and uncle from Ohio, a cousin from his mother's side. The work colleague I mentioned, a woman named Janet, who seemed just as confused about why she was there as I was. We made polite conversation. They asked how I knew the couple. I said I was the bride's sister. The confusion on their faces would have been funny if it wasn't so devastating. Oh, you're Emma's sister. I assumed you were a friend of Marcus's family. You're at our table. I made some excuse about mixed-up place cards and let it drop. But I saw them glance at each other. Saw them doing the math in their heads, trying to figure out why the bride's only sister was sitting with the overflow guests, while complete strangers sat at the family table up front. I was 3 seats away from being able to see my parents. I could hear my mother's laugh, could see the back of my father's head, but I couldn't see their faces. My aunts and uncles were all up there. My grandmother, who I had driven 3 hours to pick up and bring to the wedding because she doesn't drive anymore. All of them at tables 1 through 4, the family tables. And then there was me at table 12, next to the kitchen door. I ordered wine, then more wine. I wasn't trying to get drunk. I just needed something to do with my hands. Some reason to stay sitting there instead of leaving, which is what every instinct was screaming at me to do. But you can't leave your sister's wedding. You can't make a scene. You have to sit there and smile and pretend. Your heart isn't shattering with every toast and every dance. The speeches started after dinner. Best man first, typical funny stories about Marcus. Then Brittany, the maid of honor, stood up, with her glass and her carefully prepared notes. She talked about meeting Emma in college, about late-night talks and shared dreams, and being there for each other through breakups and bad roommates. She called Emma her sister from another mother. She cried, Emma cried, half the room cried. I sat at table 12, next to the kitchen door, and realized that I had been replaced. Not just as maid of honor, as sister. Emma had found someone she liked better, someone more convenient, someone who fit better into the life she was building. And I was just the biological fact she couldn't erase. So she pushed me to the margins instead. That's when I saw my cousin Taylor looking at me. She was at table 7, close enough to see my face, close enough to understand. She got up, excused herself from her table, and came over. Rachel, what the hell? Why are you over here? It's fine. It's not fine, you're her sister. Taylor, please, not here. Does Mom know she meant my mother, her aunt? Does she know where they put you? I didn't answer. Taylor pulled out her phone, and I saw her typing furiously, texting someone. A minute later, my mother's phone lit up. At table 2, she read the message, looked around, found me at table 12. The expression on her face was not what I expected. It wasn't surprise or horror or anger on my behalf. It was something worse. It was the face of someone who already knew, who'd known the whole time. She looked away, looked back at her plate, kept eating. That's the moment I understood. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't about numbers or complications or mixed-up place cards. This was a choice. A family decision. Put Rachel at table 12. Put her where she belongs. But I still didn't know why. That part, the reason behind all of this, I wouldn't understand until later. Until the conversation that happened while everyone else was dancing. The DJ started the party portion of the evening. First dance, parent dances, then open floor. People moved toward the dance floor. The energy shifted from formal to celebratory. And I sat at table 12, watching my family celebrate without me, trying to figure out what I'd done wrong. Taylor came back. She didn't ask permission, just grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the bathroom. We need to talk. The bathroom was one of those fancy wedding venue bathrooms with a lounge area. Couches, mirrors, good lighting. Empty except for us. Taylor locked the main door. How long has this been going on? What do you mean? Rachel, don't play dumb. How long have they been treating you like this? I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. Table 12. Are you kidding me? At your own sister's wedding. I sat down on one of the couches. The wine was hitting me, or maybe just the weight of the whole evening. It's been building, small things. The maid of honor thing, the dress, the bachelorette party. I thought maybe I was being sensitive. You're not being sensitive. This is intentional. Taylor paced the bathroom, angry in a way I hadn't let myself be. Did something happen between you and Emma? No, nothing. That's what makes this so confusing. What about your mom? What about her? Have you talked to her about any of this? I shook my head. She's been busy with wedding planning. I didn't want to add stress. Taylor stopped pacing, looked at me with something between pity and frustration. Rachel, you know what this is about, right? You have to know. I genuinely don't. She sat down next to me, took my hand. Daniel. The name hit me like cold water. Daniel, my ex from 4 years ago, ancient history, or so I thought. What about him? Emma had a thing for him back when you two were dating. Everyone knew except you. I stared at her. This didn't make sense. Emma had been 17 when I was dating Daniel, 17. A high school kid with braces and a boyfriend of her own. Taylor, that was years ago, and she was a teenager. A crush doesn't explain this. It wasn't just a crush, Rachel, she was obsessed. Used to follow him on social media, show up places she knew he'd be. Your mom caught her going through your phone once, reading your texts with him. There was a whole thing. I didn't remember this, any of it. Why didn't anyone tell me? Because you were happy, and she was young. Everyone thought she'd grow out of it. Taylor squeezed my hand. But then you and Daniel broke up, and Emma changed. Got colder toward you, started pulling away. Don't you remember? I did remember. The shift had been gradual, but it was there, Emma becoming distant. Critical, finding fault with everything I did. I'd attributed it to her getting older, becoming her own person, normal sibling stuff. But maybe it was something else. That still doesn't explain this, I said. Why would she hate me over a guy? From 4 years ago, a relationship that ended. Because he reached out to you last month. The room tilted. How do you know that? Emma told me. She was furious. Said Daniel messaged you on Instagram. Asked to get coffee. Said you were considering it. I had gotten a message from Daniel. A friendly message, casual, asking how I was. I'd responded politely, but hadn't agreed to anything, hadn't even thought about it seriously. It was just to people who used to know each other, being civil. I never told Emma about that message. You didn't have to. She's been monitoring your social media. Has been for years, apparently. She has notifications set up for when you post, or when people tag you. She saw the message. I don't know how. Maybe she has your password from when you shared accounts, but she saw it. I felt sick, actually physically sick. So all of this is because of a guy from 4 years ago. This wedding, this seating, this whole thing where I'm being pushed out of my own family is because Emma thinks I might get back together with my ex. It's not rational, Rachel. I know that. But Emma's never been rational about you, about anything involving you, really. And your mom enables it. Has 4 years? My mom knows. Your mom planned the seating chart with Emma. She knew exactly where you'd be sitting. The bathroom door handle rattled. Someone trying to get in. Taylor yelled that we'd be out in a minute. We sat there in silence, letting this information settle. Everything made sense now. The distance, the exclusion. The subtle and not so subtle ways I'd been pushed to the edges of my own family. Emma had decided I was a threat, and my mother had chosen her side. Maybe because Emma was getting married, and I was still single. Maybe because Emma was the younger one, the one who still needed protecting. Maybe because I was just easier to sacrifice. What are you going to do? Taylor asked. I don't know. You could confront them. At the wedding? No. Then when? I stood up, checked my makeup in the mirror. Surprisingly intact, considering. I'm going to leave. Leave the wedding. I'm going to finish my wine, say goodbye to a few people, and go home. Because I don't need to watch this anymore. Don't need to sit at table 12 and pretend. I'm okay with being treated like I don't matter. Rachel, if you leave, they'll make you the villain. They'll say you ruined Emma's day. Let them. I unlocked the bathroom door. I've spent enough time worrying about what Emma needs, and what Mom thinks, and how to keep everyone happy. I'm done. We walked back toward the reception. The party was in full swing. People were dancing, laughing, celebrating. Emma was in the center of it all, radiant in her white dress, surrounded by people who loved her, or at least people who were good at pretending. I didn't make a scene, didn't storm out dramatically. I just quietly collected my clutch from table 12, said a polite goodbye to Janet and Marcus's family members, and started walking toward the exit. I almost made it. My father caught me at the door. Rachel, where are you going? Home, Dad. But the night's just started. They haven't even cut the cake. I know, I'm tired. It's been a long day. He looked uncomfortable. That specific discomfort of someone who knows. They've done something wrong, but doesn't want to acknowledge it. Your mother's upset you're sitting so far back. She wanted you closer. But the numbers were complicated. The numbers weren't complicated. Dad, the choice was simple. Emma wanted me far away, and Mom agreed, so here we are. That's not fair. This is Emma's day. She's under a lot of stress. And what about me? What about the fact that I'm her sister, and I helped pay for this wedding? And I've shown up for every single event, and done everything right. And I'm still at table 12. He didn't have an answer, just that same uncomfortable expression. I'm going home, I said again. Tell Emma I hope she has a beautiful night. I walked out, got to my car, sat in the driver's seat for a long moment, letting the weight of everything crash over me. And then I drove away. I didn't cry on the drive home. I think I was too numb, too overwhelmed by the realization that the family I thought I had was an illusion, that I'd been loving people who didn't love me back, at least not in any way that mattered. I got home around 9, changed out of my dress, made tea, Sat on my couch with my phone, wondering if anyone would notice I was gone. The messages started at 9:45. First from Taylor, "Where are you? Your mom's looking for you." Then from Emma, "Where did you go?" Then from my mother, Rachel, "You need to come back. People are asking where you are." I didn't respond to any of them. Just turned my phone face down and drank my tea. More messages came through. I could feel the buzzing. Multiple people now. The story was spreading through the reception. The bride's sister left early. Did something happen? Was there a fight? At 10:30, my phone rang. "Emma." I let it go to voicemail. She called again at 10:45, then 11. Then my mother called, then Emma again. At 11:30, I finally listened to Emma's voicemail. Her voice was tight, angry. "Rachel, I don't know what kind of statement you're trying to make, but you've completely embarrassed me. People are asking questions. Mom is upset. You couldn't just get through one night. One night for me. Call me back. Now." I deleted the message. The thing about leaving a wedding early, about quietly removing yourself from a situation where you're being mistreated, is that it forces everyone else to see what they've been doing. My absence was louder than my presence ever could have been. People who hadn't thought twice about the seating arrangement suddenly had to confront the fact that the bride's only sister had left before cake cutting, had to wonder why, had to ask uncomfortable questions. I found out later, through Taylor, what happened after I left. How the evening unfolded without me there to absorb the tension. Around midnight, during a quiet moment between songs, my grandmother asked where I was. Not quietly, loudly, in that way elderly people do when they don't realize how quiet the room has gotten. "Where's Rachel? I haven't seen her in hours." My mother apparently tried to deflect. Said I wasn't feeling well, had gone home to rest. Not feeling well, she drove me here. How is she getting home if she's not feeling well? The logic of this stumped my mother, who hadn't thought through the story. While she was fumbling for an answer, my cousin Taylor, bless her, spoke up. Rachel left because she was seated at table 12 with strangers, and she was tired of being treated like she doesn't exist. The music wasn't loud enough to cover that. People heard. People who'd been wondering about the seating suddenly had their answer, and people who hadn't been wondering suddenly started. Emma, according to Taylor, went pale, then red, then left the dance floor and disappeared into the bridal suite with Brittany and my mother. They were gone for 15 minutes. When they came back, Emma's eyes were swollen like she'd been crying. The rest of the reception continued, but the energy was different, strained. People were polite but distant. The kind of party that everyone is ready to leave, but no one wants to be the first to go. Marcus's family started asking questions. Why was the groom's family treated so well, while the bride's sister was hidden away? What kind of family does that? Were there other issues they should know about? It was, from what I understand, deeply uncomfortable for everyone involved, which wasn't my intention. I hadn't left to punish anyone. I left because I was done participating in my own erasure. But the effect was the same. I didn't hear from anyone that night. After the voicemails, assumed they were all too busy with the reception to keep harassing me. Went to bed around 1, exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with being tired. The next morning, Sunday, my phone exploded. Texts from my mother, from Emma, from my father, from aunts and uncles and cousins. Everyone had an opinion about what I'd done, most of them negative. My mother's text was the longest. A wall of words about how disappointed she was, how I'd embarrassed the family, how Emma had worked so hard on this wedding, and I couldn't even stay for the whole night. How selfish I was being. How I needed to apologize immediately. Emma's text was shorter but sharper. I hope you're happy. You ruined my wedding. Everyone was talking about you instead of celebrating me. I'll never forgive you for this. My father's text was the most painful. Your sister needed you, and you walked away. I don't know how to fix this. I read them all, every single message. And then I started typing my response. Not a text. Something longer. Something that needed to be said to everyone at once. I wrote an email. Addressed it to my parents, Emma, and a few key family members. And I told them everything. I told them about the maid of honor situation, about the dress cost, about the bachelorette party where every suggestion I made was ignored, about finding out through Instagram that I was a bridesmaid, about table 12 and the kitchen door, and watching my mother look at me across that room and choose to look away. I told them about the conversation with Taylor, about Daniel, about Emma's obsession in monitoring my social media and my mother's complicity in all of it. I told them that I was done pretending this was normal ... done making myself smaller so Emma could feel bigger, done accepting crumbs of affection from people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. I told them I wouldn't be apologizing, that I'd done nothing wrong by leaving a situation where I was being actively disrespected. That if they wanted to be angry at someone, they should be angry at the people who created that situation. And then I told them I needed space. That I wouldn't be attending family dinners or holidays or events until they were ready to acknowledge what they'd done and have a real conversation about change. Not just apologies, actual change. I sent the email at 9:15 Sunday morning. Then I turned my phone off. I spent the rest of Sunday in silence. No phone, no social media, no communication with the outside world. Just me in my apartment and the beginning of understanding that this was going to get worse before it got better. Monday morning, I turned my phone back on. 63 messages, 47 missed calls. My email inbox was full. The responses were split. About a third of my family was supportive. Taylor, obviously. A few cousins who'd witnessed the table 12 situation. My grandmother, who sent a text that just said, "About damn time you spoke up." The rest were angry, defensive, insisting I misunderstood or overreacted, or made everything about me, when it was supposed to be about Emma. My mother's response was the one that hurt most. She called me ungrateful. Said I'd always been jealous of Emma ever since we were kids. Said that she tried to be fair, but I made it impossible. That Emma was the one who needed support because she was starting a new life. And I was just bitter because I was still alone. Alone, that word stuck with me. As if being single was some kind of failure that justified everything else. Emma didn't respond at all, radio silence, which was somehow worse than anger. The week after the wedding was strange. I went to work, came home, lived my life. But there was this absence. This space where my family used to be. phone calls I didn't get, group chats I was no longer part of, the casual everyday connection that you don't notice until it's gone. Taylor kept me updated, told me that Emma and Marcus had left for their honeymoon in Italy, that my parents were devastated by my email, that everyone was talking about what happened, taking sides, creating camps. Families divided, Taylor said during a phone call Wednesday night. The younger cousins mostly support you. The older generation thinks you were disrespectful. It's a mess. I didn't want this. I know, but maybe this needed to happen. Maybe it's been broken for a long time, and everyone was just pretending. She was right. This wasn't new dysfunction. This was old dysfunction finally becoming visible. 2 weeks after the wedding, my mother called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Rachel, her voice was strained. We need to talk. I'm listening. Not on the phone. Can you come to the house? Is Emma going to be there? No, she and Marcus are still on their honeymoon. Is Dad going to be there? Yes. I thought about it. Weigh the risk of walking back into that space against the possibility of actual resolution. Okay, when? Saturday afternoon, 2 o'clock. I'll be there. Saturday came. I drove to my parents' house, the house I grew up in, feeling like I was approaching enemy territory, which was a horrible way to feel about home. But that's what it had become. My mother opened the door. She looked older somehow, tired, like the last 2 weeks had aged her. Come in. The house looked the same. Same furniture, same photos on the walls, same smell of whatever candle my mother was burning. But it felt different, colder. My father was in the living room. He stood when I entered, awkward and formal. Rachel, thank you for coming. We all sat down. The silence was heavy. Finally, my mother spoke. Your email was very hurtful. My experience was very hurtful. We didn't mean for you to feel excluded. But you did exclude me, intentionally. Table 12 wasn't an accident. My father shifted uncomfortably. The seating was complicated. There were family dynamics. On Marcus's side, we had to consider. So you sacrificed me to make his family comfortable. That's not what happened. Then what did happen? Dad, explain to me how your daughter ends up hidden at the back of a wedding she helped pay for. They looked at each other, some silent communication passing between them. My mother spoke first. Emma was worried about Daniel. There it was, the truth, finally spoken out loud. So you punish me for a relationship that ended 4 years ago. We didn't punish you. We just tried to make Emma's day easier by making mine horrible. You're being dramatic. Am I? Mom, you looked at me across that room. You saw where I was sitting. You saw how hurt I was. And you looked away. She had no response to that. Just stared at her hands. Emma has always been sensitive about you, my father said quietly. About your relationship with Daniel ... about the fact that you dated him when she wanted to. She's never quite gotten over it. She was 17. He was my boyfriend, not hers. And even if she had feelings, that was years ago. I can't live my entire life tiptoeing around Emma's feelings about something that doesn't even exist anymore. But it does exist. My mother said he contacted you again. Emma saw. He sent me a message. One message. I barely responded. But even if I wanted to get coffee with him, that's my choice. My life, Emma doesn't get to control who I talk to, or see, or potentially date. She's your sister, and I'm hers. But I've spent years putting her first, making myself smaller so she can feel bigger. And where has that gotten me? To table 12. To being removed from my own family because she's afraid of something that might not even happen. More silence. Outside, I could hear kids playing, normal life continuing while ours fell apart. What do you want from us? My mother finally asked. I want you to acknowledge what happened. I want you to admit that table 12 was wrong, that the way Emma's treated me is wrong, that the way you've enabled it is wrong. And if we do that, then maybe we can start to rebuild. But not before. I'm not going to sweep this under the rug and pretend everything's fine. I did that for too long. My father leaned forward. Emma's your sister. She just got married. This is supposed to be a happy time for her. And what about happy times for me? What about my life and my happiness and my right to be treated with basic respect by my own family? They didn't have an answer. I stood up. I'm going to go when you're ready to have a real conversation. One where you actually hear what I'm saying. Instead of defending Emma, let me know. Until then, I need space. Rachel. No, Mom, I've spent 28 years putting Emma first. I'm done. She got her wedding. She got her perfect day. And I got table 12. That's the reality. You can either acknowledge it or not, but I won't pretend it didn't happen. I left before they could respond. Got in my car and drove away, hands shaking on the steering wheel. That conversation was 3 months ago. It's November now. The leaves have changed. The holidays are coming. And my family is still fractured. Emma got back from her honeymoon in September, didn't reach out. I heard through Taylor that she's angry. I ambushed my parents while she was gone. That I made everything about me when she was trying to start her marriage on a positive note. My mother calls occasionally. Surface level conversations about weather and work. We don't talk about the wedding. Don't talk about Emma. Don't talk about anything that matters. My father sent me a text last week. Just one line, we miss you at Sunday dinners. I miss them too. That's the hardest part. Missing people who hurt you, loving people who don't love you the right way. But I haven't gone back. Haven't attended the family gatherings or pretended everything's okay. Because I meant what I said. I'm done making myself smaller. Done being the acceptable sacrifice when Emma needs something. Taylor says I'm brave, says half the family is reassessing their own dynamics because of what I spoke up about. Says I started conversations that needed to happen. I don't feel brave. I just feel tired and sad and strangely free. Because here's what I've learned in the last 3 months. Family is supposed to be the people who show up for you, who see you, who make space for you at the table, literally and figuratively. And if they don't do that, if they push you to the margins and expect you to smile about it, then maybe the problem isn't you. Maybe the problem is that we've been taught to accept love that looks like rejection, to be grateful for crumbs, to never ask for more because asking makes you selfish or difficult or ungrateful. But I wasn't asking for more. I was asking for basic human decency, for acknowledgement, for a seat at a table that wasn't next to the kitchen door. And if that's too much to ask from family, then maybe family means something different to them than it does to me. I don't know how this ends. If Emma will ever apologize, or if my mother will ever admit she made a choice and it was the wrong one. If my father will ever see me as something other than the problem child who can't just let things go. I don't know if we'll have Thanksgiving together, or if Christmas will be me alone in my apartment. Which honestly might be better than sitting at another table 12. What I do know is this. I deserve better. I deserve to be seen and valued and loved by the people who claim to love me. And if they can't do that, if the cost of being in my family is accepting mistreatment, then I'll build my own family. With Taylor and friends who actually show up, who see me, who make space for me. Have you ever had to walk away from people who were supposed to love you